Okay, now another thought that I had, another thing I wanted to talk about is, it's interesting how you see a lot, the church has really stepped up its budget, its anti-critic budget, over the last year, I guess, and especially over the last few months. When season 2 was announced and started coming down the line, I really saw an increase in the social media ads, targeted ads, attack ads, as well as, of course, the anti-Leah website that the church puts up. But it's a lot more than just that. There's also other things going on behind the scenes that are not broadly visible. There are whispering campaigns, little black PR campaigns that the church is so good at doing, affecting critics, people in the ex-Scientology world. There's always been a certain degree of tension. Aaron and I did a video, last week where we talked about some of the tension that exists with people who have differing attitudes, but we really wish, everybody could just kind of stay on the same page and stay focused. But I see that there has been more effort made on behind the scenes activity to rile up critics against other critics. More so than I've ever seen before. Now, I haven't been on the job here for decades, but I've been on for years now, and I've just never seen it so strong. And where you might have a legitimate gripe or a legitimate disagreement between critics, usually we can resolve those things or kind of agree to disagree. But lately, it's been like, and I'm absolutely positive. This is just my thinking on it, but I'm positive that this is incited, that there is work done to fan the flames of these disagreements. And the really sad thing about it is I don't think the people who get into these battles and fights are even aware of the manipulation that occurs to them. You get somebody who's 2 steps out. Let's say you have Critic Joe and Critic Sally who are at each other's throats over some disagreement. They don't know that 2 steps removed from them, maybe, or maybe even 1 step removed, is somebody who is a church-enabled, OSA-enabled person, a manipulated person who is egging them on or feeding, fanning the flames of the disagreement or keeping it going. And that is absolutely an operation that the Church of Scientology engages in. And not just the Church of Scientology, of course. We see this in politics, and we see this on other social media forums. And unfortunately, lately, I've also been made aware of how this occurs with other, not just the Scientology crowd, but with other religions, other ex-members of other ex-groups also get this kind of these whispering black PR campaigns, I'll call them. In other words, a dedicated effort on the part of a person who knows what they're doing to take down a critic of a cult group, right? And that person who could be working in that dedicated fashion could themselves be a cult fighter or ex-member of one of these groups, but they get it in their head, and then they start, like a little spider with a web, they start activating, other people to work against somebody that they just have some problem with. And in the case of Scientology, what I'm saying is that I think behind that dedicated effort and person, you will find somebody from the Office of Special Affairs egging them on, and that person doesn't even realize that the person who's egging them on is from OSA. So that has stepped up over the last, I don't know, I've noticed the effects of it over the last 4 or 5 months. And much more so since season 2 started. But that sort of thing it goes, to be effective, it's a long-term campaign, and it's the sort of thing that goes on for months before you start seeing signs of it, where you start seeing the people who are at each other's throats. So anyway, I guess I'm just sort of talking about this because I need to want to appeal to my fellow critics and people at large who are looking into Scientology and checking out what this is all about, that there are a small number of us who have dedicated quite a bit of time to trying to expose the abuses and wrongnesses of Scientology. And And when you enter into this world, you enter into a world of people, some of them damaged. I'm not saying that they're mentally ill. I'm saying that they're damaged, right, by this cult experience. And so they tend to be a little punchy, about some things, and a bit sensitive about some things. And you can push those buttons. And this goes back to an OSA tactic of finding out what a person who's a critic or an enemy of Scientology, find out what they love and find out what they hate, and start pushing on those love-hate buttons that they have. This is a dedicated effort, right? So that's why I say that when you see this sort of thing going on and it doesn't easily resolve, that I think you're looking at, the effects of a campaign or an operation. So that has stepped up. Now, is it going to end the ex-Scientology movement? Is it going to stop any of us from speaking out or seeing what's going on and give up? No, it's not. Not even a little bit, right? We might get at each other. Critics might get, into squabbles or disagreements with one another. But if anybody thinks that you, being OSA, who I know watches my videos, so if you're watching this, or anybody else who's watching this who's contributing to this kind of conflict, thinks that what you're doing is going to stop what we're doing, well, you can definitely guess again, because that is not the case. I haven't for one moment thought of, well, gee, maybe I should just stop then. No, that's not at all what's going on here, because the effort on our part to expose Scientology is much stronger than our desire to maybe get along with one or two of our fellow ex-members or critics, okay? So anyway.